All right, before we dive in, we need to be crystal clear about something. This is a geopolitical simulation. We're exploring a hypothetical scenario that's based on current global tensions. This is purely an analysis of what could happen, not a report on confirmed events. So I want you to imagine a scenario with me. It's the first week of 2026, and without any warning, the entire global order just shifts. What looks like a bunch of disconnected events on the news might actually be the first moves in a new kind of silent war. We're going to do a deep dive into this potential conflict, something analysts have started calling the silver and oil war. Some people might see a sudden regime change in Venezuela and think, oh, that's a push for democracy. Others might look at China's resource policies and say that's just simple economics. But what if we're looking at this all wrong? What if China decides to strike the absolute nerve of technology, silver, and in response, America strikes back at the world's fuel tank, Venezuela? Well, welcome to a simulation of World War III, just without the missiles. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the core theory that makes this whole thing tick. Then we'll walk through a terrifyingly fast timeline, simulate what a military strike could look like, and then we're going to explore the chilling silence that follows. It all leads to a potential new set of rules for global conflict. Okay, first things first, we need the key that unlocks this entire scenario. It's an analytical framework called the strategic substitute, and it helps make sense of what might otherwise look like completely irrational moves by global superpowers. Now, this isn't some fixed law of physics, but it's a powerful way to look at things. The idea is that when a superpower gets pushed into a corner, say they're cut off from something vital, they won't just take the hit. Instead, they'll pivot. They'll seize a different strategic asset to instantly rebalance the scales of power. And here is where you can see that central conflict in action. On one side, China makes a move on the future. They weaponize silver, literally the nerve center of modern technology. So the theory suggests America's response would be to grab the present by seizing oil, the world's fuel tank. One power attacks the future, the other attacks the present. It's a terrifyingly simple and brutal equation. Now let's get into the timeline, because this isn't some slow-motion diplomatic breakdown. Oh no, this is a crisis that could explode in a matter of hours, not weeks. Just think about the sheer speed here, 72 hours. A military operation on this scale would normally take months, if not years, to plan. The fact that it could unfold in just 3 days points to what some analysts are calling a panic response, a rapid, almost desperate move to secure assets before the markets totally collapse and the strategic damage becomes permanent. Just look at how fast this escalates. It kicks off on New Year's Eve, with naval assets moving, maybe under the guise of energy security. But then, just hours later, on New Year's Day, the economic bomb drops. China bans all silver exports. Chaos. A communications blackout follows. And by January 3rd, the military operation is a go. It's a shocking, breathtaking 3-day sequence. So what does a modern operation like this actually look like on the ground? Well, it probably wouldn't be a massive, messy invasion. No, analysts are predicting something far more surgical, something designed for pure speed and shock. It starts silently with a cyber attack. The lights go out. Radar systems are jammed. With the target deaf and blind, special operations forces can just slip right in. The goal here isn't occupation. It's extraction. You secure a high-value target, and you get out fast. And here's the most shocking part. The entire operation, from boots on the ground to extraction, is simulated to last just 45 minutes. It's designed to be over before the world has even had its morning coffee, shifting the entire global balance of power in less than an hour. But this brings us to the most perplexing part of this whole scenario. After an incredibly bold, incredibly aggressive move like that, the response from rival superpowers like Beijing and Moscow is nothing. Silence. And that's the big question, isn't it? Why? If a key ally has just been effectively decapitated, why aren't there threats of retaliation, of war? This silence, it turns out, might be the key to understanding the new rules of this very dangerous geopolitical game. Okay, so intelligence analysts have basically floated 3 main theories. The first one is the quagmire trap. Just let your enemy bleed out in a costly long-term occupation. The second is action over words. In this new era, the response won't be a press conference, it'll be another calculated move somewhere else on the global chessboard. And then there's the third, and most chilling of all, the grand bargain. Let's really focus on that third theory, because it suggests a level of backroom dealing that is frankly deeply unsettling. The grand bargain theory basically says that what we're watching isn't a conflict, it's a transaction. It's this dark idea that superpowers might be secretly agreeing to let each other clean up their own backyards, all to avoid a direct, catastrophic war. And in that scenario, smaller nations become the price you pay to keep the peace among the giants. And this table just lays out the terrifying logic. Look at the USA. It gets Venezuela's oil. What's the price it pays? It basically looks the other way on moves in the South China Sea. Now look at China and Russia. They get a free hand in their own neighborhoods. And what's the price they both pay? They cede their influence in Venezuela. They all sacrifice the very same pawn to get what they want. This quote really just drives home the brutal reality of the grand bargain theory. It reframes the whole world not as a system of alliances and laws, but as a high-stakes poker game where smaller countries are just disposable assets, cards to be sacrificed to win a much larger pot. So when you put it all together, what this simulation really suggests is a fundamental, ground-shaking shift in the very definition of global conflict. I think the key takeaway is this. War may no longer be fought just with missiles and tanks, but with economic strangulation and strategic asset seizure. The new battlefields are the stock markets, the supply chains. And in this new kind of war, the collateral damage isn't just civilian casualties. It's entire nations becoming bargaining chips. And that really leaves us with a final and pretty provocative question. In a world where a ban on silver can trigger a surgical strike to seize an oil reserve, all while rival powers just watch in silence, have the old rules of engagement been completely rewritten? Is it possible we're already living in a new era of conflict without even realizing it?